Good evening and welcome to the Ref's Opinion. This is our weekly look at the biggest refereeing decisions in the game. Of course, as you're all aware, the World Cup is on at the moment and there have been lots of incidents in that. And that's what keeps us going. Normally, we take a break at this time of the year because not much football happening. But anyway, we break down the various incidents from the various matches and the controversial ones to the ones that maybe flew under the radar. And this is where we give a referee's perspective on the moments that everyone is talking about. And just to let you know, in case you have or have not been watching, Brazil are now leading 2-1, and it's well into time added on at the end of the game. That's, of course, against Japan in the last 32. So we're going to dive into some of the action from last week's game. And if you'd like to contribute to the show, you're more than welcome. Just send us your comment. There's a little thing down there on the right-hand side of your screen that you can make a comment or you can ask a question. And we'd love to hear from you. Delighted to be joined, my regular guest every week, former former Premier League referee, former FIFA referee, former World Cup referee as well, and former head of the PGMOL. Those are the guys who look after referees in the Premier League and the Championship in England, and the man responsible for introducing goal line technology into the game, which has been a huge, huge success. So we're going to concentrate, for obvious reasons, of course, on the World Cup that's going on at the moment in Mexico, the USA, and Canada. And Keith, you very kindly sent me a list of incidents that you picked up, and we'll just go through them one by one, if you don't mind. Uruguay and Spain. There was a penalty incident in that game. No VAR intervention. Not that there has to be, of course, but there wasn't. No. I feel there should have been.
Yes, I do. I think that when we look at I think the input that Pierluigi Collina has had on his referees, I think that what he's trying to do is get a balance of trying to keep the game flowing. And we are seeing free kicks taking place, or should I say fouls taking place, not penalised, and referees allowing play to continue. And I think we've just seen that in the Japan-Brazil game, where the Italian referee, I think, has had a very good game. Where there was fouls that prevented a promising attack, he was very consistent throughout the 90 minutes. So the question, I think, that we all should be asking is, at what level has the bar been set? And I might just say, for VAR, and I might just say that I think at the moment it's probably being set too high.
Can I just bring in some breaking news there, Keith? Because that game is now over. Brazil have won 2-1. They scored the winner in the 5th minute of the 6th added on at the end of the game. Sorry for interrupting.
Well, I really enjoyed watching that game. It was an open game. Japan getting that super first goal. And, you know, the Ancelotti, the manager of Brazil, who's just about won everything apart from a World Cup final, is probably the most astute manager in world football. Great deal of experience, and you know, a great fillip for him to be managing Brazil. So going back to the review, I think that we can always. I think that it's a balance of where does VAR sit, and how do they judge a clear and obvious error. And for me, I think I'm seeing some clear and obvious errors where VAR has not come in. I think last week we talked about that high boot with the American referee and Germany, I think, scoring a goal. And if you like, a foul not awarded, when for me, the foot was far too high and endanger the safety of his opponent. So you then begin to wonder, why didn't VAR come in on that one? It was a clear and obvious error. A goal resulted from that. So the criteria, they can come in. So that if I follow my notes, I watched closely the Uruguay-Spain game, and in that game, a tackle by Dani Olmo of Spain, in my view, was a red card offence. And what amazed me was we saw no intervention by VAR. It was a clear and obvious error. Not just me saying it, lots of former colleagues having the same view. So you have
Just
to
on that, sorry for interrupting you. Just on that, could the same not have been said about Messi when he raked the back of the leg of it? I mean, how did the referee? How come the guys upstairs saw it, but didn't they advise the referee on that? I mean, obviously you don't know, but the same should have applied, and it makes you suspicious that sometimes FIFA want the big named players playing and don't want them red carded.
Yeah, I hear and have read those types of comments, and I genuinely don't want to believe them. I think that the referees that are appointed to the World Cup are probably the best referees in the world. They've had some great experience of refereeing and officiating. I think that VAR, in the history of football, which started hundreds of years ago, is still relatively new. And we all have a high expectation that errors in the game would be rectified by VAR. And it's not. And I understand the comments, well, it's not going to, if you like, sanitize the game. We're not going to get that. We're still human beings. We still make errors. This one, Uruguay, Spain, was a clear offence that warranted a red card. The Messi incident was a clear offence that warranted a red card. Messi should have been sent off, no question. And then I can look at Pickford. If you remember, in the England, I think Ghana game, he chased out of his area and wiped out the attacker.
Yeah.
And a yellow card. I'm an England fan. I'm England born and bred. I want England to win, but I'm a referee. And Pickford, in my opinion, the very minimum was a yellow card, but the threshold for a red had been broken in my eyes. Threshold was out. Pickford was outside his penalty area. He wiped out the attacker, and he should have gone. And in all those three instances, VAR didn't come in. Now, why do we have VAR?
Could that have been a dog show against Pickford?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I think that, the challenge itself could have been serious foul play. Because, we all go way back when that French goalkeeper wiped out a forward and the referee did nothing and the player finished up in hospital.
Yeah.
So I think we have to recognise that VAR on some big decisions at this World Cup has not come in. And so I'm asking the question, Pierluigi Collina, have you placed the bar too high for the VAR to come in on clear and obvious errors? If not, what corrective education are you putting into the team of VAR officials based in Dallas to try to improve their performance? That high boot was not penalised. The German player's boot was close to the head of his opponent. It had to be reckless. At minimum, they go on and score. Now, in fairness, I don't think the referee's got the best view, but VAR has. And again, I think unacceptable. So what do our listeners think? Do they think I'm being too harsh?
Yeah, I'd like to hear from them.
Are they in agreement? What can be done?
Yeah.
You know?
So let's hear from you guys out there. What do you think should be done? I'd love to hear from you. Put your comments down there, and we'll certainly discuss them. Certainly, when I was always told, refereeing, that dangerous play can apply to both players, both defenders and attackers. The attacker, foot up above the waist, was considered dangerous play, and the defender or the opposition, the head down at the waistline, was also considered a dangerous play. So it's not only the foot up guy who should be and is penalized, it can also be the guy with his head down, because that's also dangerous, endangering the safety of himself by putting his head down too low. And you guys out there watching, and particularly referees, I know a lot of people who are not referees are watching this as well, but particularly referees who are watching, you should base it on that, in my opinion. I'm sure Keith will agree. Above the waist with the foot is dangerous play. Head down to the waist of the opponent is also dangerous play. So it's not just always the guy with the foot up that could be ruled, could be penalized for dangerous play. Keith, Panama and England, you just mentioned about the state of the stadiums and other stadiums, the conditions of the pitches particularly. I mean, they are, and in fairness to Mexico, the USA, and Canada, stadiums are absolutely super duper, and all of these are existing stadiums. So there were no new stadiums built, which is fantastic, unlike what happened in South Africa, because in my opinion, they literally mortgaged the country to build all these fantastic, super duper stadiums that are now not being used to their full potential. And some of them are actually in bad need of repair. But in the USA, of course, they have USA, Mexico, and Canada, they have all these stadiums. You weren't impressed with some of the pitches?
No, I think the one in New York, which I think I understand now, someone has sent me a message saying that it was laid rather late. That's always a danger. You know, the one thing that I bring up with the English Premier League is the amount of investment and the quality of the playing surfaces that has gone into the Premier League pitches. The groundsmen do a terrific job. Now, when we look at American sports, they're either in the hand or the ball is in the air.
Yeah.
And in soccer, the ball rolls on the playing surface. And what I'm seeing is this. I think that, you know, these things must have been inspected by FIFA technical people. We know that, you know, when we look at the regulations in the English Premier League, I believe that the grass height has to be specific. And we know that we see generous helpings of water before kickoff and at half time, because the amount of investment that's gone in on drainage and the subsurface of English Premier League's grounds is absolutely incredible. I mean, I go back to the days when I was either running through mud and coming off and literally throwing my boots in the bath and following it into the bath myself because we were all covered in mud.
Sure.
But in recent years, I see pitches, field surfaces, which are absolutely outstanding. Now, one of the things I recognized is the bounce of the ball. And if the grass is too long, it tends to slow down. And I've noticed even in tonight's game, you know, when you suddenly realize something's not quite right, you look at it, and there were a couple of occasions when the Japanese players overran the ball.
Yeah.
Because the ball was almost stopping, not moving on. And of course, we don't see any watering taking place. High temperatures. But I make that observation, and I think that, if we're going to have a World Cup final at that stadium in New York, which I understand we are, then I think they need to do some work on it.
I remember some years ago, Real Madrid came here to Ireland to play Shamrock Rovers. And one of the stipulations they had, even on the training grounds, that the grass was to be no longer than 3 millimeters.
Yeah.
3 millimeters. I mean, that's like a carpet. Millimeters, tiny. How you would measure it, 3 millimeters, I have no idea. But that's the kind of thing they were talking about then, because they're probably used to playing on that length of grass, if you like, in Madrid, and they wanted the same here. And I'm just wondering, would that kind of criteria apply to FIFA as well? Would they insist that the grass length be that length?
Well, I think that's possible, but I'm not so sure that that's been achieved. I mean, maybe wrong. I'm just making an observation. I didn't think from the, normally when we're looking on television, the grounds look great. I've been there. I've thought, wow, that ground looks terrific. I can remember even walking out at Old Trafford on one particular game that I was refereeing. I'd watched the match the previous week, and I thought, wow, the pitch is looking in good nick. When I got there, I was very disappointed, and the groundsman apologised. So I do think, in the case of Real Madrid, by the way, I think they actually took the Arsenal groundsman full time across to that country because they were impressed. Arsenal every year, for a number of years, won the actual playing surface award.
Yeah, that's right.
So I do think that, there's a lot of science going into surfaces. Don't take it for granted. I do think that, this can hinder the referee as well. He plays an advantage and the ball sticks. It doesn't help that advantage. Or it gives a player an opportunity to wipe somebody out.
You're watching The Ref's Opinion. We go live at this time every Monday night, on facebook.com/Hanging Judge Ref. You can make a comment if you'd like or ask a question. Just put it in there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, and we'll certainly do our best to get around to it. Joined as usual, and as always, and every Monday night by former Premier League referee, former FIFA referee, former head of the PGMOL, and a World Cup man himself, Keith Hackett. Keith, the South Africa Canada game, just towards the end of the first half, I thought there should have been a penalty against South Africa. 44th minute, something like that. Yes. And people saying yes and no, and listen to pundits and so on saying, well, he didn't do this, and well, maybe he got the ball. But the way I would judge even penalty kicks, I would judge it on the basis of, if that was in the center of the field, would I give a free kick? And if it's a free kick in the center of the field and that happens inside the penalty area, then surely to goodness it's a penalty. There's no other criteria for a free kick inside the penalty area than what should be a free kick on the halfway line, for example.
Yeah. I mean, my initial reaction was a penalty kick. I always look where the referee is. The Portuguese referee was in a really good position. And I'm thinking, right, he's got a good view of that. And then they play
he gave it, Keith. He appeared
well, I think this is where part of the confusion arises, because he pointed straight forward.
Yeah.
And what he was doing, and this is where the confusion arises, was he pointing to the goal kick or was he pointing to the penalty kick? And the general consensus coming out was he actually awarded a goal kick. So VAR, as they would normally do on a penalty kick, reviewed the decision, did not ask, I think, the referee to go to the screen, if I recall. When you actually look at the replay, there's a great deal of subjectivity in it.
Of course.
the easy decision is penalty kick. And indeed, the referee analyst, uncle of former United States referee, immediately called penalty kick. Immediately said penalty kick. The three pundits in the studio had time to watch for a second time, as I was watching for a second time. And then what you see is the action of the forward. Now, you've got this problem. You've got almost at the same time as the guy puts his leg across to make a challenge, the Canadian player goes looking to make contact, in my opinion. And so the doubt then comes into the process. And this is, I'm glad we're discussing this, because it is about interpretation. It is about VAR and the forensic examination that takes place on decisions. And this is where, I've just said in the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, where is the bar? And so what we've got is clearly the referee's got doubt, and I'm looking from the referee's point of view, right? He's got doubt, he's given the goal kick. VAR, having looked at it, have thought, well, we can't come in because it's a clear and obvious error. It's not a clear and obvious error in their eyes, because they're saying no. I think that in simple terms, Kalina has said to VAR, unless it hits you on the nose or a punch in the face, I don't want you in, I don't want you coming in. And therefore, I think this is why the VAR didn't come in, right? And we were left with debate and discussion. Referee says no, VAR doesn't come in. That automatically says to the public, it's not a penalty. Then the other question that you ask is, if the referee's not awarding a penalty kick in that situation, why then has he not yellow carded the player for an act of simulation, manufacturing contact? And I think this is the dilemma. I'm moving away from, is it a penalty kick? Is it not a penalty kick? This is, how do you coach referees? How do you manage VAR when you're left with a situation that somebody's got to make a key decision? And here is what I think comes into play. And I don't like using the word common sense, because I don't think it is common sense. This is about the referee and the VAR not having, in the award of a penalty kick, a 100% punch on the nose that says that is a penalty kick. And then we've got the other side of it, and I think this is why the debate needs to go on, is I am seeing in this World Cup a number of careless challenges, which is sanctioned by a free kick or a penalty kick, taking place, not being penalised. So here we have this challenge. Is it careless? Has the defender been careless? Has the attacker, right, made contact deliberately with the opponent, the defender, going down too easily? And these are why we have in the game differences of opinion and where opinions are formed. And the old man in the middle, the referee, is on a lose-lose situation.
If you wanted to be cynical about it, I guess you could say that the attacker manufactured the coming together. On the other hand, the defender maybe also tried to create a situation, oh no, I'm just going for the ball. So again, as you rightly say many times, it's very subjective. And it is, and according to Law 5, which we all know, certainly referees know, it is in the opinion of the referee. And that's why I changed the name of this show from the Monday Review Show to the ref's opinion, because it is, at the end of the day, the referee's opinion. But I always base it on like what I said earlier, that if that was on the halfway line, would I have given a free kick? And yes, I would. And therefore, if it's happened inside the penalty area, then it has to be a penalty kick.
Yeah. And this is why I think debate takes place, why fans sometimes are furious, why penalty kicks are not awarded. Because we earned 2 and 6pence, 30 quid a game. There's guys who come to Penistone Church now refereeing under 8s and 9s, getting that level of fee. Yeah, finances have changed.
Yeah,
but the World Cup referees deservedly are going to get about 100k. I have no qualms about what they earn. I think refereeing is more difficult now because of the forensic examination that goes on. And this is why I was very pro the introduction of Prozo, to allow the referee to reanalyze his own performance. As a professional referee, he's got more time to do that, to look at film clips and ask himself, what if? Honestly, what more could I have done? And often the debate is about C, recognize, think and act, and C, to see the offence. Often the action is covered by an opponent, a player, another player, and you don't have the same view. When you've got a minimum 22 cameras at a game, they expose the referee. And they can see things in a different light. This is why I've been consistent across recent years that where acts of simulation take place to deceive the referee, not acted upon by the referee, I want to see the game re-refereed by a panel, and where a player is guilty of an act of simulation, that panel agrees it's an act of simulation, then that player should be suspended minimum 1 game. Because players are so good now at going down. We are seeing players in brilliant positions with the ability to take off a shot on goal, right, going down. We're having to make judgment calls, aren't we? It's a denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity.
Yeah.
When in recent weeks, we've seen players at the World Cup, the very best players in the world, missing open goals. Yet, as a referee, on the denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, we have to go back and say the law says opportunity.
And that's the word, isn't it? Opportunity.
Yeah, and this is why I think we have, the education of referees has to be through not just someone standing up a screen, but a workshop environment, which, the Referees Association here in England used to be brilliant at. Now, some of the training was taken away from the Referees Association by the FA, which, in my opinion, was a mistake, because we had some great educators. They weren't teachers, they were just referees in the local park expressing their view to young referees how they should handle it. And I learned so much on those Thursday evening meetings once a month, listening to referees giving an expression of the decisions they've made, how they'd come to them, and standing up there as grown men in the 50s saying, I want to highlight a mistake that I made that I've reviewed since. And then you'll get a discussion about a law and everybody's looking at each other and going, didn't even know that law existed. You know, this is about the learning point. This is what we're trying to do in this show, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I like not to criticise referees, but to have a debate and say, come in and discuss it with us. What's your opinion, you know, on these? The Ref's Opinion show is us two, you in the main, giving our opinion.
And that's what we do. As we've said many times, we're not here to criticize referees because we've been there. We know what it's like. It's a learning thing. It's a coaching thing. It's a way to try and help referees to make the right decisions the next time. And I've often said, if referees corrected one mistake per game, and they get 40 games in the year, you know what I mean? They'll be perfect the following year. But we're human at the end of the day, and we don't want to criticize referees, and we're not here to criticize referees. No. We're here to teach and to educate. Keith, we've run out of time. Thank you very, very much again. And for you out there for watching, thank you very, very much as well. We'll do it all again next Monday, same time, 8 o'clock. The Ref's Opinion on Facebook.com/Hanging Judge Ref. Thanks, Keith, and good night.
Pleasure. Thanks.